It's Dale D'Antoni here. Welcome to the Sofa Sessions. D'Antoni, Wines.
Yo, what's up? Episode 22, Horror Stories Part 2. It's the Sofa Sessions. It's your boy, Brando, going commando with no underwear on, but I'm sporting a mango. I'm just kidding, that was terrible. I'm sorry. Yes, it is just me for this episode, so bear with me. I'm very excited. I got 2 stories for you today. They're pretty crazy. I'm not going to lie. Thank you, Riff Raff, for that sweet intro. We really do appreciate, or I really do appreciate that. Spent my own money on that. Shouted us out, Spent $85 on a cameo. We previously talked about that before, a few episodes ago, actually. I've been doing this for... That's crazy, like 4 months now. A lot of months, okay? A lot of months. But we're going to continue to do it no matter what. All right, we're going to keep doing it no matter what. And no one's going to stop us. So I really do appreciate that, Riff. Thank you for that. Also got the hoodie on. This is a dope hoodie. This is a dope hat, by the way. My boy Tommy G really coming in with the Gorilla Gang. Big Dog's Gotta Eat, Playboy. This might be the new setup. I don't really know. I really do like it though. I have my beautiful light, my other light, my camera, my workspace here. You can't see it, which is good, and the microphone. And that's a G move right there. That's a G move. Real quick, I just wanted to get into a couple things. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. Blows my mind. Baffles me. How some people can just switch up on you. How some people can just be completely and utterly fake. If you have those people in your life, get rid of them. Because guess what? As soon as they figure out everything, figure out that they're not really included in what you're doing, they're going to switch up on you. I don't really know how, but they're going to, and they're going to stop supporting you no matter what you do. Even if you start something together and something happens, they're going to stop supporting you no matter what. And that's it. They're just going to stop. And that's really annoying to me. But hey, we keep on going. The only thing that stops us is ourselves. The same thing like a boat. A boat is in the water. And think of the water as, the hateful comments, the negativity. The only way that those things can get into the boat is if you let it. But guess what? You can throw that shiz out. All right? There's a hole in it. Guess what? You patch it up. You work on it. You don't sit there. You don't sit there and complain. You don't sit there and get sad, get depressed. Because guess what? Pills and surgery, that's not going to help. Okay? You got to change your lifestyle to change your mood, to change your emotions, to change yourself mentally, to change yourself physically. But enough with the banter, enough with the talking, enough with the exploding. Let's go ahead and get to story number 1. Real quick though, both of these stories are not good. So if you kind of are queasy, if you do kind of throw up easy, don't like certain things, I'm just going to let you know, we're going to talk about sexual assault, we're going to talk about rape, we're going to talk about cannibalism, which has been coming up a lot lately in these podcasts, so I'm sorry. It's just very interesting to me how one person can look at another person and be like, hey, you look tasty. I want to take a bite out of you. Boom, 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 boom. So, yes, cannibalism. Unfortunately, there's no bestiality. I don't think there was any in the last video. I'm not too sure. But there's no bestiality. So, yes, raping, sexual assault, cannibalism, and killing, murdering, I guess, manslaughter, is all in this video. So without further ado, story number 1. It's kind of crazy I'm doing all this by myself, but hey, I was in the first place. Don't ever forget that. It's called the Frizzle case. Basically, I'm going to sum it up, and then I'm going to kind of go into detail. So this girl was held in captivity by her own father for 24 years. And people say that's crazy, whatever. But guess where she was confined to? In a makeshift cellar that her father had built years prior. Girl named Elizabeth Fritzl was, kept in this basement for 24 years, like I just said. This happened in Austria in 1984. In 1984, that's when she went missing. She was 18 at the time. And apparently, as a parent would, they sent out, a missing persons report, a missing file report that she wasn't here. So the police show up, talk to the parents, and they're like, I don't know really what happened. She left this letter. This letter basically says, this letter from her, basic quote unquote, says, I'm done with the family, I'm running away. And the police also talked to her father. That's where her father's like, yeah, she kind of talked about going into a religious cult a couple times. So that's probably where she was at. So, after that, nothing really came of it. The whereabouts kind of went cold. The case kind of closed. But how she got into it is kind of crazy. So like I said, years before, her father had made this cellar. And, the authorities, the local government was like, that's fine, because this was all during, the Cold War. So he was building all this stuff. They even gave him some type of money, like a couple G's, to help my boy out, build this underground lair. And that's the thing. People, I assume that, Elizabeth and her mother, Rosemary, knew about it because they would have been doing huge construction at this apartment complex. That's the weird thing, that they did this at an apartment complex. And there were people above them. There were people above, like, where they lived originally. So, like I said, the cellar, all right? And the father, tells Elizabeth, hey, I need help hanging this door. Can you help me? And that's where she goes wrong. So she says, yeah, let's do it. So then they hang this door. Once they get it refit, like once they get it on the hinges, my boy Joseph opens it, swings it open, pushes her in there, and like knocks her out with some like cloth. I don't really know what it was. It didn't say in it when I was reading about it, but I assume it's something along the lines of chloroform. I'm not 100% sure. So then that's where he would keep her for 24 years. He had a makeshift, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, all that kind of stuff. He had freezers down there. He had beds. I assume he had TVs down there too. It kind of said later on that she was like seeing that she was missing or whatever. But yeah, she had, anything you could really think of, she had it down there. But then again, she was in a cellar. She couldn't go out. Like, if she got out, her father would be like, hey, I'm going to kill you. So once she was in there, I read two different places, two different articles. One article said she was alone for 2 years. One article said she was alone for 5 years. So it could be either or. I'm not too sure. And he would visit down there every so often. And what he was like a technical equipment salesman. So that kind of helped him feed into this role because his, Rosemary would see him go downstairs about 9 a.m. every morning. And, he would be working. He'd also sometimes stay down there, stay the night there. And, Rosemary, the wife, just thought, hey, he's a hard worker. He's dedicated to his craft. He's making money so I can get food in my tummy. But that's exactly the wrong thing that he was doing. He was not doing any of that. He was visiting his daughter. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to let the entire world know, or whoever's listening, that he would sexually abuse her and sexually rape her. No, I did not laugh at that. I did not laugh at that. And he even had her chained and tied, to a pole that was located behind her bed, and she could only move so much. She could only move like a couple feet to this way, a couple feet to this way. But I guess that's, the whole thing is terrible. It's a terrible thing. But at least she was stranded or shackled to a bed. And it was with like an iron chain. It wasn't with rope, nylon, none of that stuff. An iron chain. But once she was strapped up to that, a couple of days later, he only puts it on her waist. He puts it on her waist, so I guess she can move around more. But about 6 to 9 months later, he completely takes it off. Because he said, I guess it's from the the court or whatever. It was restricting his sexual activity. But he would visit every day, a couple days, and that's where he would sexually abuse her and rape her. At the end of everything, once she came out, or when she was found or whatever, it's said that she was raped about 3,000 times. I don't know what I said earlier a few minutes ago about the 2 years or 5 years, but that's when she was apparently left alone. So for the first couple of years, she was left alone. I guess he would go down there to feed her, give her food, but nothing really happened to that. Couple of years later, she gets pregnant, and yes, that is from the father. From all the raping, I guess, the sexual acts he would do. She would get pregnant. But after 10 weeks, she had a miscarry. And that would really suck, to not only be raped by your father, but to finally have a baby by your father, but that baby miscarried. But 2 years later, she would fall pregnant again, and she would have her first child, and her name was Kirsten. So she would just kind of raise her, try to educate her about stuff. 2 years after that, another baby was born, and it was a boy named Stefan. So, and then both of those babies, obviously, they stayed down in the cellar with their mother. And obviously they would have been brought food and water weekly by the father. But yeah, I kind of guess that gave Elizabeth like a will to live. She had a responsibility now. She wanted to, raise her kids. Under the circumstances, that's all she could really do. But that still gave her like a will to live, and also it was soothing to her because she wasn't alone anymore. She wasn't 100%. She wasn't 100% alone like she would have been. But over the course of the 24 years, after the 2 kids, she would have 5 more, and that would give her 7 kids. But one of them died shortly after birth. And it is said that the father, Joseph, boy, he basically put the baby in an incinerator and burned the baby. But he was saying at trial that he left it up to negligence, saying, "Hey, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't do anything about it, But then one of the babies stayed down there, and the other 3 were taken upstairs. And he didn't just take them up there, and tell Rosemary about what happened. He actually would put them in certain places and quote unquote discover them. Yeah, he would put them by a bush on the front porch, I'm pretty sure he did. And not only that, he would put notes with them and say, "This is Elizabeth, I've left my child here. I can no longer take responsibility for them. I can no longer care for them. Can you please take care of them?" And everybody was like, "Oh crap, that's crazy." Like her mom was like, I guess, fine with it, because they took it. They took the baby, and she had to raise a baby, So the social services, they did come. And like look at the babies. They couldn't really do much because they were the grandparents, so they did look similar to the grandparents. So I guess they just gave them full custody, and that's when they were raising them. Now, the scary thing is that Joseph never really said how long he was going to keep them down there. He could have kept them down there for 50 more years if he wanted to, really. But once Kirsten, the firstborn, she got ill at the age of 19, and Elizabeth begged, pleaded for him to take her to the hospital, and that's what Joseph eventually did. He called an ambulance. They took her to the hospital, and he had a note ready from Elizabeth, quote unquote, explaining like the condition that she was in, and once again she couldn't take care of her or pay for it. So for about a week, the police did question Kirsten, my bad, I'm an idiot, and asked for more information on the family because they knew Elizabeth had been gone, but no one came forward. No one said anything. Obviously, they're not going to tell on themselves, but they did grow suspicions. they did grow suspicious, and they decided to reopen the case of the disappearance of Elizabeth Fritzl, like Frizzle from Magic School Bus. They read the letters that Elizabeth, quote unquote, sent to Joseph, and they kind of noticed small little inconsistencies. And I guess, Joseph, he got scared. He got pressured. He was nervous. It's either that or he had a change of heart. We're not 100% sure. But that's when he let Elizabeth go to the hospital, and with her child, to see her child, to see how she was doing. That's just crazy to me. She was, I don't know what, she was 35 at the time and had birthed seven kids down there. And the oldest one was 19. Imagine 19 years not being able to see the sun. And was it like a big culture shock to her whenever she came out of her confinement, I guess? Because that was for 24 years. So she was, 18 at the time, I said. So she's coming out when she's 35. I mean, so many things happened. I think Nelson Mandela got out of prison. O.J. Simpson went to prison. A lot of stuff happened. A lot of stuff. So, but once she got there, obviously she was taken into custody. She was questioned where she's been at. And that's when she made a promise with the police, actually. She was like, hey, if you don't tell, if you make a promise with me that I will never see my father again, I will tell you everything. And that's what happened. She ended up telling them everything. And of course that night, he was taken to jail. He was arrested. Obviously after that, the kids were all let out. And the weird thing about this was Rosemary fled. She left. But she says she knew nothing about it. And Joseph actually backed up her story, I guess, in court, that she never knew anything. And like I said, they had, neighbors above them, and the neighbors never knew. They did, hear noises here and there, and they were like, Joseph, what is that? And that's when he was like, dog, they're just noisy pipes. We got faulty pipes and a noisy heater, all right? So just chill. So then he was obviously taken. He was sentenced to, I think, pretty positive life in prison. But now, thankfully, my girl Elizabeth Fritzl, she changed her name, changed her identity. She moved to another village, and I don't think it is known where she's at. Her home is under constant CCTV surveillance and police patrol everywhere that she is. The family doesn't allow interviews, anytime. They always decline them. And the last photograph that they had, she was 16 years old, but now she's about in her 50s, mid-50s. And for some reason, my boy Joseph tried to get off the hook. He tried to say that he did all of this because, he didn't want her to fall into the bad crowd. He didn't want her to get into drugs, into violence, into all the bad things that this world has to offer, which I don't get it. Okay, you literally had your child locked up for 24 years. That's terrible. And even the lawyer was trying to defend him, and he was really trying to paint him as a caring man. He said that he was working hard to pay for both families that he had. He apparently even took a Christmas tree down to the dungeon, and he took school books, an aquarium. He even took a canary, as a matter of fact. He took a canary down there, and the lawyer even said, hey, they had a canary down there. It's not that bad down there, but that's still terrible. And for punishment, straight up, Joseph would turn off the electric down there so that she would not be able to see at all. Imagine you not being able to see for a couple hours, and then all of a sudden the lights turn on. That would destroy your freaking eyes. And even one point, apparently they went on vacation. Joseph and I guess his newfound family did. And that is when one of the freezers they had just completely I guess it stopped working or whatever, and it defrosted all this. And oh my gosh, if I'm pretty sure it smelled bad down there already, but when a freezer defrosts and all that stuff that's in there just stinks and it just rots, terrible. And the things he would do to her is just insane. Like, he would make her do like reenactment scenes from like pornographic films, and he would like humiliate her and like sexually abuse her. He would like beat her and he would kick her, and like I said, he would abuse the freak out this girl and rape her, so much to the point where he had 7 kids with this girl. And the only thing he gave her really is like disinfectant things. I'm guessing wipes, spray, maybe gloves, I don't know, a pair of scissors, and a 1960s book on childbirth. That's all the things that he gave her for that. I'm not too 100% sure if they know if he helped or not, and I'm just not sure as to how that would have happened. Like, babies stay in the hospital now for so long. I feel like they stay in there for days. But yeah, that's basically it for that one. That was terrible. Probably one of the worst things that a human could do. But unlike that one, he did not torture and mutilate a 18-month-old baby with 2 other people. That was in the last episode. We're about to get into story 2, but real quick, I'm going to take me a drink of my water. This is very different that I have to do like all the talking and still have a good voice. So just listen to me get this water. I'll be right back. I'm reaching so far for this. Alright, we're back. And I got my water. I'm going to drink this on camera for you. So if you're listening on camera, listen to it. Listen to how my voice changes after I get this gulp. Okay? That hurt my body. You know when you're starving and you're hungry and you only drink something? That weird feeling you get? Holy cow, I just got that. I've been like researching all this stuff for a couple hours. Have not had time to eat. Yeah, people want to sit there, oh, I'm bettering myself. Oh, I didn't choose to go out to drink. Bettering myself, I'm getting better. And then what do? Nothing. You sit at home, okay? It just blows my mind. Sorry, I had to itch my neck. Okay, that's what I was doing. It just blows my mind that, number one, that people are lazy. Hate lazy people. Hate it. Cannot stand it. It also blows my mind that you pay rent. People pay your rent, and they're going to stay in their rooms like hermits. Like this one dude I was working with, he told me about his roommate that literally would cry every night and stay in his room. He would never come out, and he would like be a creep. Like if he like were to go out, his roommate would just kind of creep up on him. That's weird. But that's weird that people just stay in their rooms and they like pay full rent or they pay half rent and they just stay in the room. They only utilize that. But hey, more room for me, I guess. But story 2 is where the cannibalism comes in. My man Armin Meus, spelled M-E-I-W-S. This dude is from Germany. And at the time in Germany, cannibalism was not illegal. It was straight legal, dog. You could eat people and get away with it. But the way he went about it was a little bit different. Alright, like I said, I'm going to tell you what happened, and I'm going to kind of detail it, break it down. So basically what this dude did, went on the internet, probably went to some Reddit site. It was like, hey, number 1, I'm gay. Number 2, I'm a cannibal. I have cannibalistic fetishes. So if you want to sacrifice your body and get eaten, hit me up. You'll never guess what happened. Someone hit him up. Yes, someone texted him or someone messaged him on the internet, was like, hey, bite my penis off and then kill me. That's literally what the dude said. But yes, he placed an online ad. Where he did it at was, I don't know what it was on, but it was on a forum called the Cannibal Cafe. Now, if you're on that forum, I don't know what's wrong with you. And he typed in, or he posted, he's looking for a young, well-built man who wanted to be eaten, quote unquote. But that's the thing. This dude was not like weird. He wasn't like a freak or a nerd. He was outgoing, you know. He was a computer repair technician, my bad. And, straight up, he'd mow your lawn. He'd help you fix his car, or he'd help you fix your own car. And shall I say, he hosted charming dinner parties with his friends and his family. I'm kind of sad, though. He was abandoned by his father as a boy. Yep. And that's when he became obsessed with serial killers and a desperate taste of human flesh. He wanted to taste it very, very badly. So his father left him, and on where he lived on some type of like big land, type of farmland, because actually when his mother died in 1999, that's when like the freak came out in him. Yeah, that's when the freak came out of him. So he had full reign of this land, of this property, of what he wanted to do, and that's when he texted, or that's when he put on the forum like, "Hey, looking for someone to eat," and that's when a 43-year-old Burned Brands replied with interest, and the next thing you know, the dude's on the way to him. There's a couple quotes that he said, which is kind of weird. Here's one. He said, I think it was after his first time he ate the person, "It was a feeling I can't really describe. I'd spent over 40 years longing for it, dreaming about it, and now I was getting the feeling that I was actually achieving this perfect inner connection through his flesh. The flesh tastes like pork, but stronger." That's what he said, in a quote. Even in class, like when he was sitting in class, he'd be like, yo, Nick, let me get a bite of you. You know what I'm saying? Let me get a tasty treat. But he never did anything. But until then, he was like 40 or something. But like he wouldn't post it as himself. That's the weird thing. He would post as someone named Antrophagus. That's literally what he was, or Frankie, which he was like a childhood imaginary friend, and they would discuss about what it tastes like to be eating somebody. And it, like, this dude was straight up gay, He would talk to these people on the internet, meet up with them in hotels, kind of like how Jeffrey Dahmer did. I guess Jeffrey Dahmer didn't have the internet, but he would meet up with people, take them to hotels, have gay, dirty, nasty, probably unprotected sex. I can't get over that. The unprotected part. And all these gay men had like similar cannibalistic fetishes. But like once they were there, they would act out the fetishes, and that's when the people were like, "Nah, bro, I'm good. I'm backing out." And one dude he found, and my man Armin said this was weird. He said that a dude, sacrificed himself to be beaten to death, like I said, and he considered that weird. But in March of 2001. Early March, he chatted with a user named Cater99, which is Burned Brands, that's the dude's name. He said, like I said, he wanted his penis bitten off and to be killed. And they both agreed upon it. And he said this to Burn. This is quote. He said, "After you're dead, I'll take you out and expertly carve you up, except for a pair of knees and some fleshy trash, skin, cartilage, tendons. There won't be much of you left. I'll dry out the knees and grind them up. Soon after, you won't be the last. Hopefully, I've already considered catching a young person from the street." Like straight up Jeffrey Dahmer. Straight up, 21st century style Jeffrey Dahmer. And a couple days later, matter of fact, that's when they meet. The dude, takes a day off work, sells all of his valuables, all of his possessions, which even even was like a nice sports car. He even erased all of his things on his hard drive, which good and also bad is like, what did he have on there? I would pay money to see what was on that hard drive. Probably nothing bad. It was 2001. Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't pay to see what was on this hard drive. So he took a one-way ticket to the dude, and that's where they met. They went home, but before they stopped at a pharmacy for painkillers. They got some painkillers. I think they got some cough syrup, and they got some alcohol. But after that, they got home, and it was on like Donkey Kong. Once again, the dude has gay, nasty, dirty, sweaty, voluptuous, scrumptious, unprotected sex, and that's the thing that gets me. The unprotected sex part really, AIDS is a big thing. Unprotected sex is very, very important. I just remembered Chevy Chase is not in this one, but he's right there. Right there, if you can't see. Sorry if I look orange, by the way. I think it's just the camera. But continue on nonetheless. Alright, like I said, they meet up, have gay, nasty, dirty sex. But that's when Brands is like, I don't know if I'm feeling this. Like, the sex is really good, He briefly backs out of it. Like, he doesn't want to do it. But then he switches up again. He's like, yo, I'm going to do it. So then that's when he swallows the 20 sleeping pills. He also drank all the cough syrup and the entire bottle of schnapps, which is just like a cheap liquor. I guess it's sweet too. I'm not too sure. I've never drank it. And I have not said this. This is probably the best part about this entire thing. He videotaped the entire thing. He videotaped him cutting his penis off, killing him, cutting him up, all of it. He even got the dude on film to say, go ahead and do it. He straight up gave him video consent of this entire thing. But then, as I've mentioned earlier, he wanted to bite his penis and to die. And guess what? That's what happened. He cut his penis off, but he bit into it, and he failed. It was too chewy. Who knew that a penis would be too chewy to eat? But then after that, he was like, hey, I got some salt, got some pepper, wine, and some garlic. So he put all of those ingredients together and a little bit of Brand's own fat. That's the key point. And he put it together and he cooked it. Unfortunately, though, old buddy was like bleeding out. Extreme blood loss, going in and out of consciousness, waking up, falling asleep. But he did manage to get one gulp in. He got one bite of his own penis. Now that's dedication that I strive to have. Hopefully one day I can have that. Okay? But after that, apparently he couldn't eat anymore. Extreme blood loss. So he accidentally burns the dude's penis, right? He accidentally burns it. So, you do what any normal person would do, right? You throw it away. No, that's not what this dude did. He grinded it up and he fed it to his dog, okay? Fed it to his dog. Like his literal, actual dog, which I did not see coming, I really didn't. And I think this is when Armin kind of started feeling bad, because he prayed for him to wake up, but then he was like, I'm just gonna stab him. So he stabs him in the throat, and obviously it kills him. And then he did what anyone would do. He hung him up on a meat hook, and that's where he let all the blood drain. Then he dismembered him on a butcher's block, and then continued to place his flesh and in the freezer. And this is where I can kind of see this dude's vision. He's cutting up all this stuff. He's putting them in these little perfect square boxes, or not boxes, but Tupperware, placed in the freezer. Of course, he's putting up with cut them up with little portions, all that stuff. But then, he films all that too, and the video is actually online. It's on the deep web. I definitely want to find that. But after that, he cuts all that stuff up. This is when it gets really, really good. Okay, he finds a night he's not doing anything, It gets a little horny, maybe rubs one off, we don't know. But he goes to his table, he goes to his kitchen, his beautiful kitchen, okay? Then he sits at his table. Well, first, he doesn't sit, he sets the table. He sets his beautiful linens with the thing. He gets his nicest utensils, his beautiful sterling silver utensils, He places them just perfectly in the right spot. He doesn't even need a salad fork. Screw the salad, And he just gets there. He even lights candles, like the medieval style long candles, He even does that. And he just lights them. That's when he starts to chow down on my boy Brands. Alright? And if you wanted to know, he actually ate the back. That's like he ate his back, or like a part of it, But my man Armin did keep his promise with the Brands dude, and he buried his skull and all the other inedible parts in his garden. So for the next year and a half, Armin would consume about 44 pounds of this dude. As I was looking this up, I was like, 44 pounds? That's a lot. But compared to a full human being, I weigh 190 pounds, so that would only be maybe about a quarter of it. And this dude was well into his 40s, so he was probably a little bit overweight. What was early 2001? I'm just going to say he's around 200 pounds. That is less than a quarter of a human being. That is a big boy. But yeah, he kept him in there for about a year and a half. But he wasn't done. He was not done. This is where he continued to, get on the forums, and that's where he would mess up. Somebody told on him, a kid, reported it to the police. His police shows up to the house. Everything's fine. But then they find his freezer. And they find a false bottom in the freezer. And that's where they found the dude. And the dude was, Armin was like, no, that's like wild boar. And then somehow they found the video. They found the video of him doing this, which is 4 hours long, by the way. But I guess he had to have posted it. That's the thing. There's no way it could have leaked. So I think he definitely posted this. But yeah, then he was, his crime suggested insanity, kind of similar to the Jeffrey Dahmer thing, and the dude was diagnosed with schizoid personality disorder. He was actually fit to stand trial, and on January 30th, 2004, he was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 8 years in prison. But since then, he's turned his life around. He is now a vegetarian. Proud for him. But coupled a few years later, he was retried for murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison. But this is where it kind of is confusing. He was recently permitted to wander the streets in disguise as part of his rehabilitation. I don't know how that works, but basically he beat the case, I guess, because he's wandering the streets. Not really sure how that happened. But like I said, he filmed all of this. This is 4 hour long video that he must have posted somewhere, because it's on the deep web. It's on the dark web, whatever. Which I would not enjoy watching, but I would enjoy to see it, because I'm a very curious person. I would like to see this. This would be very gory, very terrible to watch, but it's just it's like a little itch, you just want to see something terrible happening, especially if the dude was okay with it and he wasn't screaming. I feel like that wouldn't be bad if he wasn't screaming in the video, which he probably isn't. He took 20 sleeping pills, whole thing of cough syrup, and a bottle of liquor. But yeah, that's it. Let me know which story you think was worse, or better, or worse, or better. And also let me know what you think about just the single setup. I did enjoy this, but it was kind of hard to, not hard, I guess, but I don't know. It was just a little bit different, because I had to explain everything, I had to tell everything kind of myself, but hey, I had a good time. I had a lot of fun researching this stuff. I had a lot of fun learning about stuff. Hopefully next week we will have somebody, and we need to get people on this podcast And that's what I'm really start doing. I'm really start setting up these things with people. Also, I do really plan on going live a lot on the podcast Instagram and my Instagram. So thank you for listening. Thank you for staying to the end. I really appreciate that. Our reviews have been doing pretty good lately, and I'm glad that you guys are still listening, and you guys are still, taking the time to listen, because this, I don't know, to me, I just feel like the production isn't 100%, but it's going to get better. It's definitely going to get better. So I really do appreciate everybody listening. It does really help me a lot that you guys listen, because if nobody listened, there would be no point in the sofa sessions. But with further ado, do not forget to follow us or follow me on the Instagram, the Sofa Sessions Pod. Also on TikTok. I've been slacking like crazy on there, but I will get better, I promise. Also follow me, the Sapphire Stallion. Also email us, or email. I keep saying us because I keep thinking there's two people, but there's only one now. So email me, or I can say us because it's still like a thing, But yeah, thank you for listening. I appreciate each and every person listening. Better production in the near future. But thanks for sticking around. I appreciate every single thing that you guys do. Alright? Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next week. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. And don't get eaten. See ya.